Calling me lazy?
I'm calling myself lazy. Well, I know how to drive trains because I've played it on my Xbox. Big train, push lever, go fast.
We're going down, we're going down. Let's start with a history lesson. History with a capital H. In 2003, Nick Bostrom, a philosopher from Oxford University, suggested that we might live in a simulation, an argument that made Elon Musk quiver with delight. Imagine for a minute that we are the Sims, piloted by superior intelligence, all in a super realistic simulation. It means that when you play The Sims and you have them play The Sims in The Sims, you're playing a game within a game within a game. This stuff makes Inception look like Looney Tunes. It seems that video games are constantly vying for greater realism, but they're called video games, not video reality. And games are fun, but reality and fun don't always go hand in hand. Unless you're Pharrell Williams, he seems like he has a really good life. Maybe he has bad hair days. Hence the hats. Anyway, everything is a matter of balance. Life can bring you loaves aplenty, offering daily escape and entertainment, and then it can crash you into a monster truck of responsibility, or work, or adulthood, or bills, or mortgage, or council tax. Anyway, you get the gist. Maybe I'm being vague. Let's get specific. Simulations or simulation games recreate an element of reality as faithfully as possible. They allow you to cultivate a field, chop wood, drive a truck, pilot a plane, lead an animal, lead an insect, become a sugar daddy, or a surgeon, manage a theme park, or participate in the life of a stone. I wouldn't think of doing any of these in real life, but I spend hours doing them in video games. Why? If reality is the worst of games, as Jesse Schell, author of The Art of Game Design, explained, we should be asking, how are simulators and simulacra so popular? Simulacra was a dope game, by the way. The answer is quite clear: balance. Simulators have succeeded in making complicated professions accessible and fun, while toning down reality just enough. For example, when you're playing a virtual farmer, the advantage is that pesticides have less impact on your body, which is a great alternative to the reality, and you don't have the smell of manure either. Or the 22 hours a day of work, or the debt, or the pressure of supermarkets. Yeah, in that way, video games are definitely better. The key to sim success is this: it's nicer being an airline pilot when you know you can't die from making a silly mistake like pressing the wrong button. You also don't have to pay income tax on that airline job. There are loads of aspects of reality in games to immerse you in the environment. Travels and campfires in Red Dead, weight management in Death Stranding, fuel management in Days Gone, and ammunition management in The Last of Us. All these little moments of reality ground us in this game, but there are also moments of fun and imagination to balance it out. All of these games offer a fantasy interpretation of reality. Don't get me wrong, I would love to smack a bitch in the face with a fireball, but I'd probably be arrested. Apart from the purists that will tell you, X isn't realistic, all of these mechanics are accepted by players without breaking immersion. In theatre and movies, we call this the willing suspension of disbelief. The writer Samuel Taylor Coleridge came up with this idea in 1817. When the viewer is faced with a work of fiction, they agree to put their skepticism aside. Call of Duty World War II may be the most realistic game in the world, but you still have to step on a weapon to pick it up. That's not how weapons work, guys. So it doesn't have to be real, it just has to be plausible. A bit like this virtual setting I'm sitting in right now. Our graphics team worked weeks and weeks and weeks to do this. No, I'm kidding, it's real. No algorithm can make a face this perfect. You know it's true. Welcome to Talks, and joining me to discuss simulation and reality, I have Fred and Emily, Twitch streamers and the founders of the Twitch London community meetups, and also Matt Peddlesden, who's a senior producer at Dovetail Games. Thank you for joining me.
Yay.
Thanks for having us.
Welcome. So first question, do you think we're living in a simulation?
Now this is a question.
Well, I've heard it's 50-50, but
Who told you that?
I do my reading. I'm a big nerd. Yeah. But I've played enough games to know what a patch looks like, and I think it's almost
Haven't seen a glitch in real life?
Not a glitch, just I've seen obvious evidence of patches. They just rewind it, delete, start again.
Deja vu is, it's a patch update.
There we go. Isn't that in the Matrix?
Yeah, that is.
a Matrix.
We're just lifting directly from the Matrix now.
What did you just say?
Nothing, just had a little deja vu.
But yeah, no, it is a good question, and I think definitely let's go with it. We're in a simulation.
So you're saying yes, Fred?
I'm not too sure, because then it brings up the entire question of, are every game character we play in every game, are they a little bit alive? It's a bit worrying, really, isn't it? It's like, how complex does the system need to be? I'm going to say yes.
You've just because I've got a reputation for killing dogs in game by accident.
Oh no.
And now you've just made me feel like a really bad person.
Could you? Oh no.
See?
We're opening up some dark questions that we don't want to go
Pandora's
to.
box. So that's why I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
Matt?
I'm going to say no as well.
Yeah, let's go with the strong no.
It seems unlikely. I don't know. I think we're able to create these things, and I guess we need to really define when does a simulation become reality, and is what you might call a sub-reality, is that just reality of its own? Would you ever be aware of that? It's a really interesting topic.
Well, that's the question, right? When's the line between realism when it helps immersion in games and then realism that makes you a game bonkers? Like, where do you draw that line, essentially? Are there any games that kind of made you question?
There are certain games that always feel alive. Some of the more, one of the examples I love is a game called Dwarf Fortress, which I think only the nerds would have heard of.
Yeah, I don't know it, but it's fine.
Yes,
The deep nerds are like, yes. And
I
everybody
considered
else
myself a deep nerd until this point, so thanks for that.
Dwarf Fortress is one of those games where you just can keep on going and diving deeper and deeper into the game, and there's this entire world right there. The game actually, at the very beginning, simulates about 10,000 years of history.
Wow.
Uniquely for every single gameplay you do. And wondering if we're in a simulation makes me wonder if that simulation gets a bit...
Yeah, it's really interesting because when you start that game, it's a really simplistic looking game. It's like little tile kind of ASCII characters, and you're playing a community of dwarves in like a Lord of the Rings style, and they're living in a mountain and you're developing their community. So there's tons of games that do that kind of community building thing. But the whole world around you is kind of, it exists and they've written history for it. So certain people will be your enemies because they've always been your enemies, but it's completely dynamic for each world. So in terms of a game that does kind of create a complete simulated reality, that's probably the closest that I think I've ever got, where every time it's different and your relationships are different and the way that you behave has a kind of just a general natural impact on the world around it, but not in a way where it kind of is like, oh, remember this.
Matt, it's probably a cheating question to you because you make simulation games at Dovetail Games, so you make games about trains and fishing. They're very real, so how do you kind of balance that between making sure the player knows it's a simulation game and then also making sure that they're not getting lost in reality? It's
about really finding that balance between immersion and realism, because sometimes simulating every nuance of realism becomes not fun anymore. And you get it to where actually you really do need to be a train driver, trained for 6 months to make it move. And no one wants that. That's not why you play a game. So it's trying to, what actually is fun about driving a train, what is fun about going fishing, and drawing those things into and to make it fun, and then looking at the things people like about games in general. Like, for example, you're driving a train, getting a little HUD on the bottom right corner. No train driver has a thing saying your next speed limit is this in 15 meters. This doesn't happen, but it makes it to where so many more people can enjoy it. And I think that's where you create that sense of if you get that sense of immersion to where I'm in this world, my decisions, the things I do are affecting something about it, you immediately get lost in it, and at that point it's then your new reality. Even if it's just on a TV screen in front of you, you get so zoned in by it.
I think sometimes too much reality actually kicks you out of the game. Like, I played a game, and it's probably changed since it came out because I know it's had a lot of updates, but it was a game called Atlas. And,
I've heard about that,
In Atlas, they for some reason included a ton of different stats for your nutrition, including a ton of different vitamins. So they were going, oh, you've only consumed 20% of your vitamin K, which I think is potassium. And I'm like, well, where would I get that? There are only 3 foods in the world,
Hunting
but suddenly
the world
I'm
for
worrying.
bananas.
Suddenly I'm worrying about how much of what different statistic, and actually takes you out of the game where, you're trying to build a ship and go and experience and explore, and suddenly you're micromanaging tiny details. And I think it's a balance that a lot of games try and play with things like stamina, right? Where you want a character that doesn't feel like Superman who can run forever, but also there is nothing more annoying than running for 10 seconds and having the character go, I'm out of breath, directly in your ear. And you're like, if I wanted this, I would be doing this in real life. So, it's one of those things where I feel like there's a balance where too much reality can actually pull you out of the experience of the game. The same way you're going, well, how was I supposed to know that I went too fast through that area?
Yeah.
But
suppose
with
it's,
introducing the HUD, you've made that easier to understand.
I suppose it's just trying to be convincing more than anything else.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean it's just like your graphics aren't necessarily even the most important. They're generally what get you into a game immediately because they're the first look and your first impressions. But if having played the game for a bit, you want to see what's under that skin and see what the game's actually going to give you. The goal of any simulator is make as many switches work and do the real thing. But then you find that actually you've gone too far. And now no one can make the train move anymore. And we have had instances of that in the past where we've done what our players have asked for, which is do the best you can, and then the feedback has been, well, we couldn't make it move
because they haven't got the training.
I had no idea.
The actual train drivers
exactly.
in real
It was just
life.
like, oh well, actually to drive this, you probably need to learn for a year, and it's not fun.
But that's the challenge, right? For kind of any simulator is creating something that is a realistic experience, but isn't alienating to the audience who might, like, I've certainly never thought about driving a train in real life, but I've definitely played and experienced a ton of different simulators like Train Sim, which I've had a great time in. But you've got to be able to basically make the game possible for me to jump in and go, let's drive around and have a good time. But then you also still want it to be feel real for the people for whom this is like the only game they play and they love it more than anything.
Yeah, for the people who this is the hardcore audience for the game, it's still got to ring true for them as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And
So
that's
it's a
really
good
fine.
balance.
Like, how do you get that? It's not even finding a fine line. It's you've got a big thick line.
Balance of complexity and maybe a taster of this environment.
Yeah, and it's whether it's helpers or just guidance and tutorials, because sometimes it's just a case of, well, if I told you that every time that alarm rings, you press that button, you can figure it out. But if I never tell you that, it's become a complete blocker to playing the game.
Yeah, and now there's just alarms happening, and I don't know why, and I've got
We're going down. We're going down. How about so? Why do we want these games? Why do we want simulation games? Why do we need to play a cooking game? I'm asking this for myself. Why do I need to play a cooking game when I don't like to cook in real life? Not that I can't cook, I just don't like to.
Just to be clear.
I think there's a big difference between pressing a few keys. Obviously, there's like the laziness factor, right? I mean,
Calling me lazy?
I'm calling myself lazy. And I don't know. I see people play games. There's like a few different types of simulation games, and there's like the farming sims sort of ring true to me. And I see a lot of people just trying to get those crop lines exactly straight and trying to get the movement. And it's more, I guess it's almost like a bit of therapy.
See, that I agree with, definitely.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's like a form of escapism.
Of course.
But I just don't know why I choose to escape something that I do and don't do in real life. Do you see what I mean?
think it's
Farming I
like-
don't do. So that makes sense.
Yes.
But cooking,
Yeah.
I don't want to.
But it makes it so much easier. It's so much simpler. You're not going to have a clean up. You're not going to have to worry about whether or not it tastes nice. And at the end, I think you get a ding. You did that great, right? Because when you stand and you cook dinner and you go, yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah, that was a meal, and I've got to do the dishwasher. It's completely the opposite experience. And the game is literally saying, congratulations, you did the thing. But there's no stress about failing. So it's like Fred was saying about the
Crop lines.
the crop lines, right? So like Fred was saying about the crop lines, you can turn around and say, I did a great job with that, but you don't actually, even if they're all wonky, the game will probably still continue as it was, and you'll still have a good time. And I think it's the same with cooking or with almost any kind of simulation. It's like you get to zone out of your world, but in a way that isn't super difficult or probably won't come up with a big, like, you died.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just don't want to see that, you know? Especially not in Farming Simulator.
I mean, there's also an element of I really want to do that kind of thing. I want to drive a train. I'm never going to get to drive a train in real life. No one will be stupid enough to let me drive a train in real life. Or I want to drive a truck or fly a plane. There's all these great things. I'm into mostly I like vehicle games. But there's a lot more to simulation. And it's, if you're driving a train in reality, not only are you having the fun in the cab of driving the train, you're responsible for 700 lives behind you and their well-being.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of pressure
And getting to
stress
work
about
on
that.
time and everybody...
And getting everybody to that. And you get these things wrong. Trains, if you're driving one of the high-speed trains, and if you realise you need to stop, a mile later, that train will have stopped.
Yeah.
Which means generally, by the time you realise you need to stop, it's too late.
Yeah.
And whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of
Yes.
stress. You need to be really laser focused. So I've got so much respect for people out there that drive trains in real world. But in the game, it doesn't matter if you get it wrong.
Yeah. It's kind of a zoom out on the cooking thing, right? It doesn't matter if your meal tastes bad, and it doesn't matter if you get your train somewhere late or...
Yeah, or if something goes wrong because you ran a red light. You ran a red light in reality, you've probably not got a job tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's that.
True.
It's a really bad thing to run a red light. It's not like if you do it in a car where you get a ticket. But if you're on a red light in the game, game ends. You've lost that hour's scenario that you've done, but you can start again.
Yeah.
And that's it.
simulations are like life without consequences.
It is, essentially.
Essentially.
Yeah.
But it means that you can say, well, you know what, I'm going to feel bad if I get that wrong. You can choose to add those elements in if you want to. And I think that's where the variable simulation level comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if you just want to use it and chill, a lot of simulation games, so the crop lines are one thing, you know.
Yeah.
I'm quite renowned on my own server for having the zigzaggy lines because, you know, I'm not really paying attention.
Yeah.
But you know what, I'm enjoying myself.
That's the main thing as well.
Yeah, you're not
Yeah.
worrying about like, oh no, how will I feed the family?
I suppose there's also an element of like not wanting to ruin the fantasy as well. Like big train, push lever, go fast. I don't care about all the lights and signals, you know what I mean? I just want to have a big hunk of metal and I want to make it go as fast as it can.
In Deus Ex Human Revolution, it's 2027. Humanity's become addicted to cybernetic processes that boost their abilities. Society is separated by those who modify their body and those who reject the system, either because of ideology or lack of means. But bad luck. A virus starts to infect the processes and transforms the owners into psychopaths who end up ostracized, excluded from public debate, and gathered in ghettos in the follow-up Deus Ex Mankind Divided. The two games reflect the combination of fascination and fear invoked by the concept of enhanced humans. Mexico, January 2019. Lucas de Grassi, ex-Formula 1 driver, and Ryan Hunter-Ray, Triple Indy 500 winner, are defeated on their own ground by Enzo Bonito behind the wheel of a Formula E. A classic race, but with a twist. Enzo was trained on a driving simulator with Assetto Corsa and iRacing, rather than on real tracks. Whereas real-life champion racer Romain Grosjean lost in front of 8 amateur drivers in 2014 in a virtual competition. Will artificial intelligence eventually replace humans? An AI defeated US Air Force veteran and star of air combat simulators, Colonel Gene Lee. Scary? Not really, if we consider that behind each machine there is a human being. And a power outlet, making it easy to unplug. Rather than destroying humans, machines will complete them, make them stronger, faster, smarter. Elon Musk believes it with his Neuralink project using machines to increase our cognitive capacities. We are in real sci-fi territory here. Who knows where technology will be in a few decades, or a few centuries? The future of humanity might be to become a kind of chimera, half real, half virtual, part human, part AI. Here's hoping we have good antivirus software.
Now, once on stream, I played Euro Truck Simulator.
It's crimes against humanity is what you performed.
Oh my gosh. It was dark. I was trying to get from Germany to Poland.
Did you run over?
Oh,
But you were the one that said that, you know, we might be living in the simulation. So if we're talking about those people being real,
we're not going to go back to the people in
you ran
Germany
over
that killed. No, it was really funny. I had a truck full of green beans from Germany to Poland, and I drove for about an hour, and I don't drive in real life, and that was evident in my gameplay.
Well, that's something I actually want to pick up, because can you train yourself in a skill in a game to be used in reality? Would you get on a plane with someone who learned how to fly a plane on a simulator?
It's really difficult, right? Because there's obviously real life is way more technical, way more advanced, and landing a plane, I know that, you know, you point the nose up and you go slower and it comes down, but that's all I know, right? But I do think that, like, when you just want to learn just the theory of something, just the idea of how it acts, like, we started our streaming career playing a game called DayZ, which is built on top of a game called Armor, which is a military simulator. And it was actually such a military simulator, they actually sold it to militaries to train their soldiers. And then someone threw a zombie game on top of it, and I loved it. And whilst I know nothing about military tactics, I do now know words like defilade, which I didn't know before. It's like a hill or something like that.
Okay, right.
I pretend like I know. But I do think that, like, you can learn the theory. You can kind of, like, get your head around the idea of something more than anything else. And I do think that is available in simulators.
Yeah, and I definitely think that there can be a reality to what you're doing. Like, I haven't actually played the most recent flight simulator, but I know that Flight Sim really tries to be very accurate, and it probably does give you, especially if you're playing with the kind of, rather than like a mouse and a keyboard or a controller, if you're playing with the kind of like full equipment that you can buy, that was going to give you something of a realistic feeling. That being said, I'm probably not going to jump into a plane with someone who's like, don't worry, I've theoretically done this on my computer. But I mean, people do train and practice on simulators, like big ones that look as though you're in the cockpit of a plane or whatever. So I definitely don't think that you're not learning. I just don't necessarily think that what you're learning is 100% applicable to the real world. Do you know what I mean?
Thorough study and extra training.
I mean,
with your games.
If it's a question of getting on the plane, then no.
And you make simulation games.
Well, because a lot of people who play simulations don't appreciate what they don't know. You don't know what you don't know.
Yes.
And a lot of it is about the feeling in your seat, and how the aircraft moves, how the train moves, how all the vehicles move, and you appreciate that. Particularly, it's even more important with aircraft. But you know what? If we're on the plane and there's nobody but that person to land the plane, he's our best shot.
I'd
going to
rather
go for
hear
it.
than me.
You played flight simulator.
You play flight sim, you go for it. Because at least they've got the theory.
Yes.
They understand the idea. They know what the process, even if they've never actually felt it. They'll know what to look for on that. I mean, when it comes to training yourself, again, using something like the train sims. So one of our players had bought Train Sim World for his Xbox. He's doing something else in his career and enjoyed it. He's like, this is interesting. Maybe I could try doing this for a career. And he'd spent probably a year playing Train Sim World and learning how to do the various things. And he applied, went through the driver training process, and is now a train driver.
Oh, wow.
No, he's not a train driver because of what he learned on Train Sim World.
Yes,
of course. To be clear.
It piqued his interest.
But it piqued his interest. It showed him what the job was going to be about, and got it to where when someone started throwing the railway alphabet soup at him of AWS and TPWS, he knew what all that stuff meant, which gave him a massive head start on other players. And then it's also really important to understand what you don't know and not go in all, I know how to drive trains because I played it on my Xbox. It's.
I watch Scrubs. I'm a doctor now.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, basically.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's actually awesome.
It's not the only example.
Life-changing games.
It's not the only example. There's other people that have gone through the same process through flight sims, and it's, if you have the right mindset, it can support that process.
Yeah, I also think bringing it back kind of to cooking, like you were saying, I think that sometimes it can make something that may seem a little distant, a little intimidating, a bit more accessible, right? Even when it comes down to, like, if you presented somebody with a whole bunch of different vegetables and said, dice these or slice them, or how would you peel this? Having experienced that in a game kind of makes the whole thing a little bit less intimidating.
Gives you direction.
Exactly, and you're like, I know what to do with this. I know which piece of equipment. I know not to grab out a huge carving knife and try and peel a carrot with it. That's not going to work for me.
Yeah,
Is that what I'm doing wrong?
That's going to be the next segment, like just cooking with Emily, like, guys.
When me and Em first got together, I was charged with cutting some garlic up, and I ended up, she asked me to do 5 cloves. She walks in, I've got tears coming down my face, and there's 5 onions diced in front of me.
Oh, that's why. That's why I was like, why were you crying from garlic?
I didn't know that garlic and onions were different because I had no experience cooking. But if I had played a cooking sim, maybe I would have been like,
it's true, you would have known what garlic is. Yeah.
But also, you knew you wanted to cook. And I think that if you don't have somebody who maybe is confident in teaching you how to do something, having that as like a gateway is kind of a cool thing.
That's a great way of describing it.
That small bit of exposure.
Yeah.
Education as well, and awareness.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, education is a big thing. With even we've got drivers that literally they'll spend all day driving in the real world, come home, spend all night driving on the game, and you look at them and you go, well, why?
Well, that was going to be my question. But I don't want to disrespect anyone, but it's true. But like,
but why?
Working 24/7.
Well, it's escapism because no pressure, no stress. They get to do what they do for a living, but without any of the downsides. They get to drive trains they will never get to drive in the real life. So they know, or they've gone through all the training and they know how to drive a train. Now they can take that expertise and knowledge and apply it to trains that don't even exist anymore, let alone trains in different countries.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That the trains that didn't exist.
Yeah,
as
and
well.
that's like a whole new level of like bringing something that would otherwise be totally inaccessible, even to the people who are in the know.
Exactly.
And making it
And in the
accessible to
industry.
everybody.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think that's really cool.
Okay.
Yes.
So next question.
Oh.
Matt, it might be difficult for you because you already create the simulations you want to create, but if you could do anything else and add it onto your existing roster of games, what would you choose?
So, I mean, for a long time I've had, this ideal game that I'd like to make, the big and grand vision that's too big to ever make. And that is an MMO, multi-platform transport simulator, which is just all vehicles across the entire simulated planet, 1 million players all playing it, whether they want to just be a walk around as a passenger or something, drive trains, fly planes, drive boats, drive cars, all of those simulators, just put them in one world and then get everybody online in the same
Copyright
world.
that. That's a really good idea. don't release that into the world. That's awesome. That sounds fun as well.
That's blurring the lines of reality and
Definitely.
Simulator.
Just getting out the house and just being in someone's car. Uber, let's go. So we talked about the Matrix and the idea that we could be in a simulation. Do you think VR is the next step towards that kind of realism?
When we were in like the military simulation kind of scene and we were playing Arma 3 and Arma 2 a lot, there were, obviously we enjoyed the kind of fun game that was put on top of it, right? So it was zombies or it was battle royale and those sorts of things. But a lot of people kind of met up once a week and ran drills and ran scenarios, right? So they were saying, right, we're going to take this town, we're going to, you know, create a scenario and then we're all going to live it out, but we've all got our own individual roles. So it's not a kind of Leroy Jenkins situation where someone can go running in like, you know, you're in charge and you're...
So I can hear it. Leroy
Leroy!
Jenkins. Go on.
Leroy Jenkins!
Sorry, that's like an ancient meme, but it still holds up.
At least they have chicken.
So it's not like a, you know, a situation where they can just run in and do whatever they want. You're not playing it like a game, you're running it like a real scenario. And I do think that when it comes to things like that, there is absolutely going to be a community who don't just want to experience that via, you know, via a screen, but want to really live it. You know, I think you're going to see people with treadmills, people in, you know, pseudo-military gear running around and doing these kinds of drills together, both as a sort of community building thing and also because it would be kind of fun to do and live out.
So Matt, you were talking about how train drivers sometimes they go to work and they drive and then they come home and they drive. Do you think that it's possible for people who are doing their job via VR now?
Anything's possible. I think we're away from that yet because obviously if you suddenly lose connection to the train, that's a bad thing. With trains being more and more self-driving, you know, they're aware of what's going on around them. And you know, to some extent, the train driver is there watching what's going on. I mean, I'm underplaying what they do, obviously, but you know, they'll control their speed in some cases based on the signals and so forth. Which means that actually, the train driver, if they were to lose connection briefly, might not be the end of the world if the train can safely look after itself. Which means then you'd have one driver potentially looking after multiple trains.
Kind of scary though, don't you think that?
Well,
do you find it scary? I find it scary.
not really, because I was actually listening to what you said earlier about how on the train sim game that you're making, it tells you your upcoming speed limits and stuff like that. I really do feel like that a lot of the UI on trains is very complicated. You do need training, but how? I mean, they could learn things from you and how to simplify things, how to make things much more simple. The barrier to entry
Make the
could
job
be,
fit the sim.
Yeah.
So I mean, the trains there are trains on the underground that by and large drive themselves now, and you know the infrastructure is there to support a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, I think you're going to see more of that as well.
Oh, totally,
Like
yeah.
more kind of VR and things kind of becoming more enmeshed where you've got a bit of both. And I love the idea of people being able to do their jobs or do their work, you know, from home or from spaces that suit
Some
them.
surgeons.
Surgeons have been starting to use VR. I mean, initially via just remote operating of machines, but now they can put the headset on and virtually be there, which is
it's
amazing.
great. You get to work from home, you get to have your own fridge and drive a train across Europe.
But you've still got the life on the end of the line, so it's not exactly a sim. You still got that responsibility.
Yeah. You better be focusing.
It's definitely not a sim at that point.
I think that's a really cool thing with regards to accessibility as well, being able to bring those jobs to
100%.
people at home and saying, hey, you are trained, you're doing this job, but you don't necessarily have to drive 45 minutes to get to work because,
100%.
you know, and I feel like, you know, obviously what you brought up with like losing signal and losing connection are really important issues, but I feel like they're definitely solvable.
They're all
like,
solvable.
Especially over time when we've got, you know, 3 or 4 different ways of connecting to the internet. You can have backups, you know, and I would definitely like to see it. I think we're moving that
It would be
direction. I think
cool.
it's cool.
We can
Like you
remote fly a
said.
helicopter on Mars.
Yeah.
So you've got to imagine
Well,
we can
there we
remote fly
go.
a train in the same planet.
Yeah, I mean, there's less collateral. I mean, losing the helicopter would be really bad and expensive, but like...
You might kill a Martian.
Yeah, could you imagine? We've
Okay.
discovered him and we've crashed a helicopter into him.
Land
This
in
is a
the-
disaster.
Exactly.
Land in the
We've
wrong
actually
back
killed the
garden.
one
Double
alien that we
paperwork.
were trying to make contact with. Can you
There's only
imagine?
one.
Who's the
You don't know how they
last?
procreate. They might just be.
It's very lonely.
Yeah. All right, we can talk about this all day, but now it's time for a quiz. Get ready. The principle is simple. I'm going to give you the names of some simulation games, and you'll have to tell me whether they really exist or not.
Okay.
Don't cheat, because I know you probably know this
If you
well
made any
inside
of
and
these,
out.
I'm going to be furious.
Some of these are quite crazy, so get ready.
Okay.
Okay. So are these real games or fake games?
Okay.
A home burglary simulator.
That's real.
Fake.
Real.
You're right, it's real. Sorry, Emily.
Oh no! I should
Thief
just go with the
Simulator
masses.
is a thing that
Right.
exists.
Okay.
Did you know
that's
that already?
insane.
Thief Simulator, yeah.
Damn it. You're gonna be the. I know, this is the thing. Okay, next simulation. A fishing simulator.
That's true.
That's
100%.
has to be right.
Yeah.
Fishing sim world is a game,
yes.
apparently. Okay, next one.
Okay.
A shoe repair simulator.
No way.
I've not heard of that one.
Well, I'm going no. I'm not. I'm going with the masses.
Okay, you're all right.
Yes.
It's not existing yet.
Okay.
Yet. A holiday simulator.
But just going on holiday.
A holiday simulator. I shall say no
I'm
more.
going to say yes.
I'm gonna say no.
I'm going to go no as well.
Do you want to change your answer?
No.
Good, because you're right. Well done. Vacation simulator exists. Okay,
Just lay in a chair for 2 hours.
escapism at its best. Okay, next one. A kebab seller simulator.
I want it to be real, so yes.
Yeah, I would buy
want
that. No, I'm in.
Yeah, I want that to be real as well.
All right, we're not asking.
I'm dedicated.
I'm willing it into existence.
So you're saying
okay?
yes?
Yes.
False. And that's a shame.
The world lets us
It's
down
false.
again.
Yeah.
But I just want to, in the simulator, just to get the big elephant's foot. And
Yeah, you can't tell me you don't want to shave it off the. Yeah.
Oh, I've
no.
always wanted to do that.
Exactly, haven't
What is
we
it about
all?
kids and watching that go down? Okay.
satisfying game mechanics.
It is. Okay, next one.
Yeah.
A gardening simulator.
No, that has to be real.
Yeah.
There's no way that gardening simulator
I'm
is
gonna
real.
go no then, just be controversial.
Well, your controversy cost you a point because they're right.
Oh, you fool.
Garden flipper, it's called.
Yeah.
That was priceless. That was so priceless. Your faces.
Oh my god.
Okay, another one. An aquarium simulator.
Yes. I'm going to go with.
You.
I'm gonna go with
Did
yes.
you make that one? Are you in on it? No. Yeah. Why not? Why not?
I think so, yes.
It's true. It's a game called Biotope.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've never heard of it. That
Neither
sounds
have
cool.
I actually.
No.
I might try it out.
know.
Closer to my mermaid dream.
Yeah, we're moving. On.
I have an aquarium. I know that stuff goes deep, so
A YouTuber's life simulator.
I know there's a streaming simulator, but is there a YouTube simulator?
Yeah, there's a
That
streamer
was a
and
nice,
there's
lovely worded question, actually.
I want to say yes because YouTube is bigger than streaming, or is it? I don't.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes. YouTuber's life released in 2016.
Oh,
Okay,
the streaming one's definitely more recent. So.
Yeah.
Would you be
Confirm
playing
it's the
that?
YouTube one.
No, existential.
No.
I do enough of it. No, that's not escapism for me.
Coming back from work to do extra work. No repercussions. Okay, next one. A Coke drinker simulator.
I would
Programming
say
session.
absolutely not. It's way too specific.
I'm going to go with no as well.
Everyone say no.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say no.
You're all wrong. Soda drinker pro, dude.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I said no was I was like, that's too close to a brand, and now you come in with soda, it's changed everything.
A simulator for cleaning corpses in a spaceship after an alien attack.
Yes.
Yes!
Yes, but which one? I think there's more than one.
Yeah, there is.
There's more than one. The flip.
I mean, there's a
Can't
visceral
remember the name. It
cleanup.
begins with a V,
Yeah.
but
And there's
Oh,
also
you're right. Well done.
there's also
Yeah,
Space
visceral.
Station 13.
that's it, visceral. Yeah.
You see, we told you we like space.
Okay. You got Viscera cleanup detail.
That's the
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
a cleanup detail. Yeah.
But there's
And
two.
Space Station 13.
Okay, last one. A stone simulator.
Stone.
Yes.
A stone.
All I'm imagining is, you remember that magazine with like, yep, that's wood. You know, it's like a wood.
Yep, that's good.
I'm going to say yes.
I have played enough trash games on Steam that there has to be someone who's made it for like $100. So yes.
You're all right. It's actually true. It's
Yeah.
called Stone Simulator and it simulates the life of a pebble. Yeah.
Well, maybe you start in the mountain, you know, there's an avalanche, but if you get knocked off,
Just where we get
That
to
makes
explore
sense.
and understand the life of the pebble.
yeah, there's a
Educational.
narrative there. Yeah, there's a lot to learn. You end up sand, you're on the beach, pina colada, the end.
I just thought it was a pebble. And you know one of those things where you look at something, it makes you really contemplate your own life just because it does nothing. It just
Yeah.
reflects whatever you
Yeah.
project onto it. That's what I thought it was.
That's
Oh,
like
maybe
a mirror
it is.
to me. Jeez.
Cause I'm rolling, stone.
Too real. Doing nothing all day.
So, we have a winner. Fred, you scored 7.
That's fantastic.
Matt, you scored 8.
Oh.
Emily won with 9. Well done. Well done. I'm not gonna lie to you, I actually thought Matt would win.
Yeah, me too.
Not that I didn't have faith.
I'm genuinely
smug
way
about
too
that. That was
pleased
cool.
about that. So I'd like to apologise.
Well done to you, Emily. You know
you.
all about faking it around this table. Obviously, no salacious insinuations. But thank you so much for joining me on this chat. It's been so good having you here to chat about simulation and reality. Thank you so much.
It's been great. It's been a
Thank
pleasure.
you for having
Thank
me.
you.
Thank you very much.
And now we're on to our top 5. This is our top 5 of the most unrealistic things we've encountered in games. Isn't it romantic to come home and find that someone has lit dozens of candles for you? Yeah, but not so much in a horror game. How would they even know we would be here at exactly this time? How do they know what scent I like? They would smash track and field for days, literally. Game characters that can run for hours on end. That's exciting enough, but still pales in comparison to the double jump that some of them can do. What fun would games be with slow, realistic movement? Third place goes to loot drops. We all love them, and we don't care about how unrealistic they may be. Why do monsters even carry stuff like armor, weapons, and money? They can't use it, and I really don't want to know where they've been hiding it all this time. Which brings me to our second place. How can game characters carry all of that food, clothes, and weapons? Hooray for inventories! They are downright incredible. I have trouble getting my smartphone into my pockets, let alone getting 3 loaves of bread and a machine gun into a rucksack. First place goes to bodily functions, sleeping, eating, using the toilet, all optional in games. Wonderful! If only that stuff was optional in real life, I'd have fewer interruptions when I'm gaming through the night.